All right. We're
Chris, are we
live.
live?
We are live.
Chris, Hawk, are we live?
That's it. OB live.
We're live, bro. We're live. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Pin the Gas podcast, where we cater to your motorcycle racing needs and desires. Today, as always, I am Cool Jules, along with Chris, the whole effing show Simcoe, and with the official Pin the Gas nickname, because you know we got to do this. You know we got to do this, man. Yo, Hawk King Cobra Mazzotta, how you doing, brother, man? Welcome to the show. What is good, King Cobra, on deck?
King Cobra, man.
Love
I was
it.
gonna say, I'm looking at the screen here, and you guys got cool names. You know, Chris the Show, Cool Jules. Mine's just Hawk Mazzotta. So thanks for the King Cobra, man. That's awesome.
Man, your first name is dope enough, bro. It's like,
It
yeah,
is.
King
I was
Cobra.
telling my wife. I was
Yeah.
actually telling my wife. She's like, "Who you got on?" I said, "Hawk Mazzotta." She said, "How you spell his name?" I said, "Just like the bird, Hawk. Hawk. She was like, "That name is so cool." I was like, "Ain't it? It's a really cool name."
It is, and the first name plus the nickname, that's two apex predators right there.
Facts.
That's true, man.
That's all I'm saying.
Although the the hawk eats the snake, so
Facts.
I've never seen a hawk eat a king cobra. I might have to look that up on YouTube.
Yeah. It's out there.
It's everything's out there.
Everything's
I have-
out there. Facts.
I have a TikTok feed of a whole bunch of like animal violence. Hawk, are you on TikTok at all?
No, I'm not.
No, I was gonna ask because I was taking a little snoopy snoop at your Instagram page, man, and the Mazzotta camp,
Yeah.
like that was it was such a catchy nickname, and I'm like, man, imagine that on TikTok, yo. That'd have been cool. That'd have been a dope little promotion right there.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, I don't know how to do all this stuff, guys. I'm super illiterate when it comes to technology. My wife sort of got me dialed in to at least know how to work the computer, like right now. And I'm still on AOL. If that gives you any information as far as how out of date I am.
Let's
Keep
go.
AOL alive.
You
That's
guys,
facts.
I'm pretty sure you guys remember those days where you can't use the internet if someone's on the phone
Yeah.
in your house.
The dial up.
The dial-up. They're like, oh man, now we can't get to you. Now those spam calls can't get to you. Those telemarketers can't get to you.
Yep.
Right.
But,
and they had the guy on the computer screen that was running across the screen as it was
yeah,
loading up.
Yeah.
That's it.
You keep running. You're like, come on.
Are you
Let's
serious?
go.
Yeah.
I remember those days. You got to connect the little landline to your computer.
Man,
But
changed, huh? Quick. Phew.
I know, right?
True.
It's crazy.
I've still got an old rotary phone, you know, from when we were growing up, a big old red one, and my son uses it in my mom's house. He goes to grandma's house and has his little sleepover, and it's in his room. It's just the coolest thing ever. He'll call me, yep, do the little buttons, and he's just pumped. He could call someone all day and be stoked. Like, Daddy, I'm on your phone, the red phone. And I said, man, that wasn't, you know, like really that long ago. We had that phone, like we used it up until, I don't know, I'd say I was probably 10, you know. I mean, if you think about it, not that long ago. Now we got freaking what we're doing now and self-driving cars, and it's pretty, you know, it's crazy.
I know it's actually scary too, right? So just imagine another 50, 100 years from now after we're gone, right? It's going to be, it's going to be insane the way technology has taken it for the good and for the bad too, right? Because there's always plus and minuses. So.
Yeah, and one of the minuses is there's too much tech in these bikes nowadays, which is why when I looked at some of the YouTube videos of you, a lot of it is like some like flat tracking stuff, man. Flat tracking is something I've always wanted to get into because I've never done a track day. I've never done any dirt bikes.
Okay.
But flat tracking is definitely something I want to learn. Now, with you doing both, what's one thing you prefer? Do you prefer more of like the road racing stuff? Are you just a dirt boy at heart?
I'm a road race guy, you know.
Oh.
So
okay.
Actually, and you know, a lot of people who don't know my background, who have just met me in the recent years since I've started this business. I mean, I've never even raced a pro flat track race like AFT. I've never even honestly pursued flat track racing. It is just a tool that I've used that I got when I started road racing. I was 15. And that was the tool. That was the training tool that all the road racers used back then. And they still do, but like a
Makes
little
sense.
Honda XR100. So I got introduced to, flat track on the mini bikes back in the day, with the best of the best, the real deal. I consider the real deal guys back then, the Freddie Spencers, the Roberts,
That's right.
you name it. I got to sort of ride and train with those guys, and it was the best training tool, and it still is. So that's why I teach what I do on the flat track stuff, because it's the foundation. Whether you're a road racer, supermoto, motocross, you got to learn how to use the tools to go fast on a motorcycle, and do it on the flat marbly stuff. Do it low speed, so you're not getting hurt, scaring yourself right away. It's all throttle control based. It's using your front brake, your rear brake, and so that's what I do. But road racing is my jam. I mean, that's what I absolutely love. And
right.
That's yeah. So speaking of, so how did you get into road racing to begin with?
When we moved I live up in Cottonwood, Northern California again, but I grew up in NorCal. I consider NorCal truly, because people think that California cuts off after San Fran or Sacramento, which it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Up here.
Still
hours from the Oregon border. So we grew up here. I knew nothing about road racing. I'd never even seen it. But growing up on a ranch, we had dirt bikes that we would just, F off and go ride around on. We didn't know anything about racing. So we moved to Monterey when I was in 5th grade. I think I was 12 or so. And Laguna Seca was in our backyard. So
I'll be there soon.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be there in July.
Oh, for the races? motoamerica?
Yep. motoamerica.
Right.
Never been.
It's a absolutely beautiful track. I think anyone would say it's one of the best in the world. It's pretty famous with the corkscrew, and it's a beautiful surface, great layout. They just repaved. And so anyways, I went out to a track day just by chance, and I'll never forget it. 2 track days. I went out there, and it was called back then Dennis Pegalo track day. And back in the day, there was only a couple of track day providers, like Dennis Pegalo, I think Reg Pridmore. There wasn't many. Like today, there's tons of them out there. So I went out there and just was watching, and thought it was the coolest thing ever. And one of the instructors, Al Salveria, offered, for me to get on the back with him. And I signed a waiver and got suited up and went on the back. And although riding on the back was scary and I was not too into it,
Right.
it was still incredible. So that's how it started for me, was just, seeing it, thought it was just so neat. I had to try it. And that guy, Al Salveria, ended up mentoring me. We hit it off. He lived in San Francisco. He's a pro rider, and we just got chatting, and he helped me sort of get a little RS-125, showed me the ropes. I did some track days, went right into racing, got me some sponsors, and he really got me into the sport quick. It was a fast gig because I knew nothing about it.
What was like one of the first sponsors that you were able to tack on?
And it was through him, but gear sponsors. He got me Bell helmets. Was one of the first ones, and some brake pad sponsors, tiny things, but it all adds up. And especially as a kid when you're starting out, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I got something for free, and they gave me some stickers. Like, oh hell yeah, I'm the big time now,
bro. Like any amount of like free stickers I can get, bro, from people, it's always a blessing. It's always a blessing. Stickers are fun. I was a sticker kid. I stuck to and he's got all my stickers I've saved plastered everywhere. I remember those days. Chris is being home invaded right now.
Man. Sorry, I got 2 big pit bulls, man. And anytime they hear a creak in the house, of course, you already know. Yeah, well, Cruz, he's a 130-pound pit. He's actually a Tennessee Walker Hound pit mix.
Oh man.
So yeah, he's a big boy. But anyway, back to Hawk.
My bad, Chris. I was gonna ask you, like, We were talking about sponsors, right? I peeped a little bit of the little track days contrast that you got with that bozo Dustin Coiner. We had him on the show.
Dustin, what a bozo's right.
We had him a few days ago.
Dustin, hopefully he's watching.
Yeah, hopefully Dustin is. He told me he was going to, because he usually watches ours and I watch his too. So we'll see.
It's still earlier in the day though. It's like what, like 10?
It's after 10 out here.
Yeah, it's after 10.
Yeah, like 10, 12 out there. But he's old, so he probably wakes up early. You guys were talking about sponsors, and the first thing that pops out was the whole condom sponsor. That's probably later on. But I know you probably told this story millions of times, but I want to hear it for myself, for Chris's self, and for Pin the Gas.
Yeah, so that was in 2007. I was racing. It was AMA Super Sport on 600 on a Yamaha, and yeah, man, the title sponsor was Bravo Condoms. I was in their R&D department.
Cool. That's awesome. R&D. That's the best job in the world with that, ain't it?
Did they like supply specific people to come over and help with that?
That just sort of came naturally, and
came naturally. You heard that, Chris?
Facts. Facts.
There was the on-track testing. We had we had motorcycle tests, and then we had the condom testing, and
love it.
It was awesome. It was, it's quite the deal. So for those you guys probably don't know, the backstory on that was my brother who started that business. It was really neat because we'd both sort of gone through, I don't remember. Well, he was living out in Colorado doing his college stuff. Anyways, I don't remember time-wise, but I was building homes and he had dabbled with me. We'd done some remodels together, and I'd just gone back to racing. He had just formed this business. And so it was a really neat merge in timing, because he truly, as I do, but believe in it. I mean, as strange as it is these days, as liberal as our nation is, of like anything goes, right? I mean, anything these days goes, which, in ways is great. And in other ways, it's making things a little difficult. But how hush condoms are still. It's like,
right?
Come on, man.
It's encouraged. It's encouraged.
It is an important thing. Some of us have been there and had you strapped up, you wouldn't have certain issues. My brother is one, and he said, dude, this is a truly needed thing. And his whole thing was making the condom cool. And man, he did a great job. He was really on to something. He busted his ass, and his whole thing was through extreme sports. That's the avenue, that demographic from, I don't remember the exact, but 20 something to late 30s was that demographic of really the condoms are needed.
Right.
And so we merged together. He was able to use my platform of professional racing to really market the company. And that whole, I knew all the guys, a lot of the pro athletes, I knew all those guys. So it was really fun, man. His brother's getting to, me help him, he helped me. And it was a fun time. A lot of Bravo condoms parties, hot dog. It was great.
I was like, he's busting his ass. It ain't the only thing he busting, Chris.
That's awesome.
And it was cool too. It's like there was truly an interest there. Like people were all of a sudden like, whoa, okay, yeah, this is great. This is needed. What's the big deal about having to go to the checkout at the grocery store and be embarrassed to buy condoms? Like, no, it's it's a normal, cool thing. It's all good.
It is. It is.
Not as bad as it once was.
Yeah, well, and it was funny. Back then they had the Red Bull Rookies Cup, the 125s. I think they're 125s. Yeah. And they had their big semi truck there. We were pitted right across from them. And it was pretty interesting. They caused a stink, whoever ran it. Red Bull caused a stink about, we're pitted across from Bravo condoms. And, this is kids. They're, I don't know the age, but I want to say they're probably, call it 10 to or 12.
14.
Yeah.
Around there.
Yeah.
And we were, like, hey, like, come on, man. This is, you think these kids don't know? And if they don't, they should.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
Right? But they're Red Bull sponsored drinking this shit.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
Facts. Yeah, facts. Preach. I'm saying, yeah.
I always wondered that. I was like, I wonder if the kids be drinking the Red Bulls and shit, bro. Like 10 or 12.
They're all jacked up Mountain Dew, all weirded out.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
No.
Yeah. Anyways, that's how the Bravo thing came about, and it was a good run. You know, it's a bummer because it was such a good, strong business that had grown so fast. But in that industry, I didn't know much about it until obviously, you know, learning from my brothers that you get to a certain point where the big chain stores, Walmarts, and that you name it, you know, would take his product on, and but no matter what, you have to buy shelf space. So, you know, they say, okay, you want a 12 by 12 shelf space. Here's what it's going to cost you. And, you know, he just couldn't do it.
It's
he refused to take investors, which, you know, might've been a good move to do, but anyways, it was neat.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say you're right. That's something that's you know, not seldom talk about anymore. I mean, you don't even. It used to be TV commercials on that, and you don't even see that no more, right?
You don't, do you? Not really.
It's on TikTok now, Chris.
Yeah, but dude, you know, we still need to educate, all right? And there's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong. I'd rather teach, you know, my boy the right way and say, hey, blah 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 blah, versus him come home and be like, Dad, dude, I just got these 2 girls pregnant.
Changes your life forever, and it can be for the positive, you know. But it no matter what, changes your life forever. So, you know, a lot of schools. I don't know about you guys. I'm 41, and my school, they didn't teach sex ed.
No,
they started doing it probably a little after I got out of school. Like they made it more prominent. I got out of school around like 2012, 2013.
Okay.
So they made it like, look how late that is. That is very late.
Yeah.
2013 is not that long ago. I mean, 10 years, but what's 10 years? You know what I'm saying? But nah, that's crazy. So if right after that, I mean, is he like undertaking any other business? Is he still helping you in whatever your endeavors are?
I want to say I retired from racing in 2010, and he continued the business. I don't know exactly, but I want to say around the same 10, 11 or so. He kept it going, and it just got to that point where it was go one way or the other, you know, of just shut it down or take a big loan out. So, no, he stopped that business, and I know he's definitely discussed doing something with it again. But no, he actually he moved up. He was in Santa Barbara. He moved up where I am now to help me. I was running a couple of cattle ranches, and I was working for Cal Fire as a firefighter, and it was just I was spread too thin. What's happening, man? Thank you. Yep. And so I called my brother. I just needed someone that I could trust, and you know that we grew up on a ranch, someone that knew the program. So he moved up and helped me for a bit and ended up staying. So he lives just a mile from me now, and
nice.
And he's sort of doing the ranching thing as well as he's got a bunch of equipment that he contracts out on fires up here.
Nice. Yeah, nice. So, how did this whole boot camp come up? The whole Hawk Mazzotta training camp. How did all that come into play?
That was in 2000, and well, you know what? I've been interested in having my own motorcycle school of some sort for a lot of years.
All right.
I started teaching. Back in 2003, I rode under Jason Pridmore, Star School.
Ooh.
So I got to know Jason in 2003, and he's the one that really sparked the interest in teaching because I taught for Jason and I raced for him. And Pridmore is just, I mean, he's an incredible rider, obviously.
Yeah.
And he's so methodical in the way he can break stuff down. And just what I learned from him inspired me definitely over all the years to teach. And I love helping and teaching, and I love kids. Like I've got 2 of my own, and I love hanging out with kids. They're just the coolest ever.
They are.
You know, they're rad, and they're our future. So whatever we can pass on and teach them is important, especially these days. Yeah. Something outdoors, something that's really healthy physically and mentally, and
challenging. Right? Yes, like absolutely.
It's really stimulating the brain and pushing them. It's all on them. This sport, it's pretty much as soon as that visor goes down or you take off, it's on you. It's not a ball sport where it's a team sport. Of course, at a certain level, it is a team sport. You've got your crew and all that is a huge part of the program. But I just had the interest, and my wife is the one that really pushed me to do it. Nice. I think it was 2018 or so, over a couple bottles of wine. We just really to that point of like, hey, like should I get off the pot style? I've talked about it for years. Right. And it just finally was that point, like just do it. And she saw me ride supermoto. I hadn't touched a motorcycle since 2010. I retired after Laguna Seca Superbike race. Done. I was fighting fires. I was an EMT. I was, happy just being a normal man. And being a father, like, the racing thing is done. So yeah. Like I knew I had to just walk away, and I was stoked to do it. I rode in the dirt here and there, just backwoods, having fun, just relaxed. Well, I went and raced the supermoto race in like 2000, maybe 16 or 17. And that was it. I got the bug. I won. I was still sort of fast. Like, oh shit. So she was there. You need to do that. Like you just are happy. She saw a spark in my eye, and like she always said, back then, she's like, you're a better guy to be around. You're a nicer guy when you're on a bike. So
facts.
Facts. That's your stress relief.
It is. You got to have your thing. And
yeah.
So with that said, it did feel good to ride again. And so we discussed it, came up with the name, and I over that 2019, I just really built my business plan and did all my research, and then formed the business in the very end of 19. And so pretty much 20 was when I really started teaching camps and doing what I'm doing.
I'm glad COVID didn't affect you at all, did it?
Yeah, we were just going to ask that.
Yeah.
It did, it definitely did. But up and down, when it first started, everyone was all freaked out, and I had to be careful what I was doing. I was sort of quiet for a little bit. And then up where we are, we are very conservative. People don't really give a shit at all up here.
Good.
So that group was pretty much how I thought. Like, I didn't care. Be smart, do what you should do every day, is just have a good hygiene and wash your hands and basic stuff. Right. So it didn't really affect me bad overall. And obviously, like, outdoor activities and stuff got crazy. It was awesome. People all of a sudden figured out, oh, I should get outdoors and do something. So mini bikes were out the roof, which is what I train on, is mini bikes. And so in a way it was good. It's just, it definitely, it mixed things up business wise for me, because I've been searching for manufacturer support, and, I had good timing and good opportunity as it relates to my business and my numbers and demographics, but the supply and demand, there was no supply. So that hurt. I think I would have had a good chance of getting some support then. And that was going to happen. So, it was fine though.
Also it's still the company itself for the school is still a baby. I mean, only 2.5 years, 3 years in the making. It's still in its little embryo, man.
Yeah, no, it is. And I forget that. It's good hearing that because, it's up and down, it's a struggle. It's hard, and then it's good and it's hard. And I'm learning as I go, man. It's if I could just be hands-on and just teach, I love that. I've got a great curriculum. I know what to do naturally, but there's the whole business end of things that I love business, but the other parts of it, of the paperwork, the computer, the freaking,
it's not fun.
Marketing, social media. It's all me. I got to learn. I'm not the best at it, but I need to figure it out. So
You gotta hire like a high school kid, man. Like be like, hey, run our Instagram page, post every week. We'll send you stickers and a shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're right. That is what I need to do. A lot of people have said exactly that. Go hire a. I've got my wife's cousin. He's rad. He's the one that's helped do my website and drone footage, and he's badass.
Drone footage. Man,
Yeah,
we're talking baby steps. He's bringing in drone footage.
Oh, he's legit. Yeah, he blows my mind. I tell him what I want, and he just beep, 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 does all this stuff on a computer and does it.
That is awesome.
Days, it's a part of it is just change with the times, and I've got to step it up of the technology side of things, because it's honestly it's the biggest part of it. Getting people to my property or to my events, I can talk about it, but it's like, yeah, I got to get them there, and I got to get the word out there, and I'm still figuring out how to do that. What's the best way to do that?
I think nowadays, you're not behind at all, because social media is free marketing. So great. So it's something that, like, that doesn't cost anything to put content out there, to put a video out there. Track Day's crew making plans for next season at the camp. Oh my God, he has a whole crew.
Yeah. Dustin's got a whole crew, and also Dustin told me that Hawk, you was out there dragging elbows on his R1, man.
Oh, is that Dustin? Did Dustin just chime in or something?
Yeah. Can you see that on your screen, Hawk?
Yeah, talk about technology, hot dog.
Right.
It just says Facebook user on my end, so like.
Yeah, no, I saw it. That's cool. What's that?
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Dustin's a hoot, but yeah, man, ripping on the R1. He told me to get on it when I go upstate in California, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I can handle that shit.
Come out here, riding the dirt with me first. Start in the dirt, low speed, low risk, and then
I would love to.
Yeah, come up.
Where exactly is here again? Santa.
I am, the best way to put it's 2 hours north of Sacramento.
2 hours north of Sacramento. Oh, still ways away from Laguna.
Call it 2.5 to 3 hours north of. From Laguna, I'm 4 hours 45 minutes.
Yeah,
okay. So I would have to plan a specific trip for that. Then.
Yeah, man.
Definitely. You're not going to Laguna yourself, right? For Emily? Oh, you are.
Yeah.
Oh shit! There you go. Yo, we're about to see what's up.
Hooligan bike. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all gonna be an hour from Thunderhill.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people that go to Thunderhill.
Dude, Thunderhill, it's such a good track. They got several layouts. The one that rode with Dustin the other day, it's called the West Layout, West Track, and it is so much fun. It's a smooth surface. It's freaking beautiful. And Thunderhill is cool, especially as a beginner, because there's no walls, really, very few walls on the whole track, so you can run off, keep the thing upright, or if you fall, there's really not walls to hit, which to me is key. I don't know why more tracks in the nation haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, facts.
I blame Formula One.
Well, the tracks in the US were based for car racing, not motorcycle racing back in the day. They're all pretty old,
Yeah,
they are. Here's the thing. It's like I'm very aware of track safety. I always have been. I always scope things out, and I'll walk a track. I just look at everything. And when I was just at Thunderhill, there really is only a couple walls on the whole track. And I was going up on one of the hills, just looking at the track, and they're building all these new big metal structures. And on the backside of the track, it's second or third gear, but you're rolling pretty quick. And there's a wall that you absolutely, because I've almost hit it, you'll make it to if you wad up or if you ride the thing a little bit and then fall.
Right.
There's a wall. Oh, nice. And it's like after that wall, there is nothing. There is nothing there but dirt. And why do they put these walls there?
Put a wall there.
Right. Take it down. Let's take the wall down.
It's just, and now they're building the structure 10 feet off that wall. So anyways,
what the hell?
Blows my mind that, and these are tracks all over the nation, that you've got however many acres, maybe just add another 30, 40, 50 feet, guys. And then add that wall or that drainage or that pond or that whatever. I know there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
But I just made me think of it. Thunderhill's awesome. Anyways, it's badass.
Yeah, who are the bumper clots? Like, who are? I like to speak to the people who are building these freaking structures and just ruining what's good about the track. You know what I'm saying?
There's more to it. I don't understand it necessarily. I know for spectators, they want to put viewing points in certain spots and close to the track. I get that. I mean, that makes sense. But guys aren't going to want to go back to tracks, especially bikes, if people are dying. So there goes your spectator thing, anyways. As a rider in the U.S., you just have to deal with it, and they've gotten a lot better. Thank goodness to like Road Racing World. They've done the air fence. I mean, unbelievable the change that has made for riders.
Oh yeah, the marshals are getting better too. Yeah, track safety overall is stepping up. Fellow marshal here. I marshaled so many races in my. Yeah. I've done a lot of MotoGP. I've done Formula E, and I've done motoamerica. Yeah. I'm aiming.
Thanks for the work, man. You guys that's a lot of work all day for a whole weekend.
That's it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, man. I encourage people like who have never been to a MotoGP race, yo. If you don't feel like paying for a for a weekend ticket, just marshal, dude. And the people that you meet, they're not all Americans, bro. Like these are people flying in from Australia, flying from India, from Ukraine, just to marshal an American track. Like that's crazy to me. Calls himself a marshal, and
that's got to be Dustin, man. Because I all of a sudden block it. Like I just that's got to be Dustin. That's awesome.
You've got too many teeth to be a corner worker.
Dustin, go work, man.
I'm holding myself a lot these days. Freaking because I mean it's great because it's up close and personal. It's the best seats in the house. You can spend thousands and thousands of dollars. You can't get as close to the track action as we can. You know what I'm saying?
So how does a guy go about doing that? If you want to be a marshal at motoamerica or MotoGP, I mean, is it pretty involved? You have the training and whatnot?
So how I did it was I was referred to by a friend, but there's a Facebook group. It's called Austin MotoGP Volunteers, right? And it's the central hub for pretty much any sort of marshaling events. So like even though it says Austin MotoGP, they'll put out posts for MotoAmerica, they'll put out posts for Formula E, IndyCar, whatever. And then it takes you to a website where you pick the event and then you sign up for that event. I was kind of annoying about it because I kept emailing the organizers. I was like, hey, just want to know where I'm at in terms of processing my application. Like I was actually applying for a job. And I was very active on the Facebook group. I was posting memes. I was posting questions. Pretty much getting my face out there, right? Get my name out there. And before I knew it, I was selected. Bought a plane ticket. Followed the rules. They send you emails on what you have to do, and that's that. I mean, it's long hours.
Sure. Yeah.
And you don't get as much freedom. Like this year was the first time I had an off day, and I spent it with my boy, the whole effing show here at Coda.
Yeah.
And man, for the first time enjoying Coda, I actually got to enjoy Coda. It's great. So that's probably the downside of it, but the upside, especially if it's your first time, it's an experience like no other. Yeah. Like how often do you get Jorge Martin screaming at you?
Oh man, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah. I had Martin yelling at me.
That is, I mean, I think it's something that any enthusiast, I would do it. I would totally do it. I think it's so cool to be up in the mix and get those vantage points. And I mean, you're making a huge difference, dude. You guys are either potentially making or breaking the show and or people's lives, really.
Same thing with you with the EMT, Hawk.
Yeah, man.
Same thing with you and the EMT, man. It's all important. It is. It really is.
I wonder if you can be an EMT, or I don't know if it's if there's like a state license or whatever.
I let mine lapse. Yeah, I was nationally as an EMT, and there's a lot that you got to keep up every year. Actually, it's not.
Right.
But it would have been easier just to keep it up, just to have it, because that test was hard. But anyways, I let mine lapse. So, yeah, that's probably that.
Yeah, man. I mean, training is not difficult. I actually encourage Chris to try it just once. But
Yeah,
it's
I
it's
will.
not it's not difficult, man. It's just watch your back for oncoming bikes. If you're in charge of picking up the bike, just keep your hand out of the exhaust, wear gloves, pick up the bike, and get that thing as far away from the road as fast as possible. Medics, which what I was, we didn't do shit, man. We didn't do jack squat. Like somebody fell, riders 9 times out of 10 get up.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to touch them.
Yeah.
And you're only allowed to quote unquote touch them if they're just on the ground, just not moving or like complaining or whatever. Then you get the stretcher, put them little motherfuckers on the stretcher, and then walk them off. But luckily, I never had to do that.
Yeah. So do they when you show up, I mean, do they have, previous to showing up, do they have like online basic training course, or do they have a riders meeting that they train you, or not riders, a workers meeting?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Because
So
it's interesting to me because, dude, this stuff is so important. And as a racer and a promoter, because I put my own races on, very, very small scale, but you know, it's hit and miss. You go to some tracks, whether it's at like a club race level or a pro level, and there's some big mistakes made, which everyone makes mistakes, but there's some big mistakes made that absolutely could and should have been prevented. And I know for sure it's sometimes because, and I don't know at the pro level, but it's just straight up lack of training. Like, you know, simply throwing a certain flag, not throwing a flag, throwing it when it should have been thrown. Just basic things. I'm like, man, how does that happen? Because if I know how it works at my races, they're small again, but you know, just a quick down and dirty training in the morning of what I want, and I keep it very simple. But at the bigger level, man, that's a big deal. That's big money on the line. You know, it's such a big deal. A wrong call made, and or someone not attending or getting to somebody. I mean, it's a difference of so much. There's so much.
Yeah, it's big time. Yeah,
big time. Yeah, it's such a big role.
It is. It is.
And the level of superiors that you have before you can actually act on. I mean, obviously, if somebody crashes, get out there and help out, right? But in terms of like flags, so there's a lot of things that happen more recently in Moto America, right? Like missed flag calls, a rider down, a bike on fire. Why are they not doing this? So as much as we want to blame the marshals, a lot of that is race control, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. So we're not allowed to act unless race control tells us, hey, do this.
That's tricky. You know?
Yeah. Yep. So it does become, because your moral compass steps in, right? Like it's raining, bro. Put up a rain flag, but like you can't.
That's a tricky one, man. Yeah, no, I get it.
So like race control has to be like, hey, rain flag's up. Then you can't, because if you wave a flag and race control says, what are you doing? There goes your chances of ever marshaling out a race.
There's so much involved in it. That's why I ask all these questions, because I think it's really cool that you do that, and anyone does it. I really appreciate and respect the work, because it's no joke. It's the big part of what happens within a race, and it's long weekends. I've been at some races, some weekends, especially up where I live, like Thunder Hill. You race out there, I'm no joke, 100 to 115 degree ambient temperature. So these dudes are out there just roasting all day long. You know, I mean, it's
watching
a lot.
bikes go by.
Yeah, it is a lot. And they're out there running and picking up a bike, and I mean, there's a lot to it. So it's I hope people can recognize it and appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
you and Chris got to try it like at least once.
Yeah,
just to get it out, of your system. Because I know, as much as I love marshaling, after the first time, I was like, all right, this was great. Let me see if I can do it again. After the second time, loved it, but I was like, I kind of like the freedom of going around and just freelancing.
Sure.
But then it's a give or take sort of thing. But I encourage anyone who's a fan of the sport to actually do it. It's not hard to get in. It really isn't, especially if you have bike experience.
That's a cool way to do it. It's something I haven't really thought of, but with friends and all that I've got, that love racing or want to check it out, but to go do that end of it. Cause fans out there, that is the best way. I've never done it, but I mean, shit, I've raced for so many years that you get to understand it, know it. And that's the best way to experience the sport really. At my little events that I put on, I have volunteers and, I'll trade out a race entry or something. I have parents that go and do it. I train them real quick in the morning, and they usually just come back and do it because they're like, man, it's such a cool vantage point. I get to be right there. And I start understanding the sport. That's what I hear from most of the parents is I get it way more now. And whoa, I appreciate what my kids doing more because they're seeing their speeds,
Yeah.
Right. And
cool.
And believe it or not, even though it is MotoGP, we're always short of people.
Really?
Can you believe that? We're always short.
Are they? I mean, they pay, right? They must.
No, they don't.
Really?
MotoGP doesn't pay.
They just
Moto America does.
Free. Okay. Yeah.
Well, not Moto America, but like the SCCA, the marshaling agency that
yeah.
They pay. But I understand why MotoGP doesn't pay. I mean, like, again, it's give and take, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars. You can never get as close to the action as we can. We are the action, so it's like you trade that experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a whole weekend. It's free. I mean, you only got to pay for a place to stay, or sometimes you get like huge discounts on places to stay because you're a marshal. So I think Coda. I don't know if it's Coda. Yeah, I don't know if it's Coda or if it's MotoGP that is in cahoots with the hotels there.
Okay.
But you get discounted hotels. They feed you. Not the best, but they feed you. And you get a lot of cool like exclusive free shit like volunteer swag and stuff like that. Like it's cool. Nice. It's not something that I would like to do every year because you like to switch it up. Sure. So would I do MotoGP next year? Probably. I don't know. It's the friends, like you make friends that do this all the time, and it's like there's like a camaraderie to it. Like when me and Chris were walking through Coda, and then you see like the marshals like waving, yo, Julius, oh shoot, it's the show, I'm like, I'm part of you guys, like I'm with y'all tomorrow, you know what I mean? So it's great. It's great doing that. How
do you guys know each other?
Funny story. Yeah. So like I met Andy. Andy was part of the group when him and Jules started Pin the Gas. Anyway, I was friends with Andy. We met at VIR. He was asking me questions about aerodynamics in MotoGP, and then he pulls out his phone and said, I'm going to record a conversation. I'm going to send it to my buddy Jules. Then he mentions the podcast, and they ended up having me as a guest on Pin the Gas podcast. I was actually the first guest, and then after that, the rest is pretty much history. And then we didn't finally meet until Texas this year, so that was the first time me and Jules met in person. Okay, and we've been podcasting for like a year since we met.
Oh wow!
Yeah, this is still a baby too.
So where's Andy? Is he still part of it?
No. He listen, he is to me, he'll always be part of Pin the Gas, right? For sure, because he was part of the original group, but he don't podcast with us anymore today. Yeah, no.
Right on.
No.
Yeah. Cool. But I always give him his flowers because he was literally the first person who was on this stuff.
Yep.
But
is this Rowe or
Andy Rowe,
yep, Andy Rowe. Yep.
I met him I met him last year. The first time I think I met him at Atlanta last year.
Yep, at Georgia. Yep.
Yeah, he wasn't rolled out Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Because of this whole podcast thing, he got into Moto America, and now, because he never watched Moto America before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He was just a GP guy.
Yeah, he's a straight up GP, and I don't even know if he was into World Superbike like that. I wouldn't be surprised if he was. But yeah, now he's like into the Moto America. Now the Moto America guys know who he is, and like everyone's reaching out to him now. And nice. It was great. It was great seeing him have so much fun in New Jersey when he was still trying to get to know these people. Yeah. Me and Andy were both marshals. Yeah.
Okay.
That's how we met. And then Andy brought Chris along, and then Yeah, man. So that goes back to marshaling, man. Like, you never know who you can meet marshaling.
Absolutely,
And
yeah. And it's small world. Race world's small, you know.
It is. It is so small. It's so small, in fact, that marshaling MotoGP, I had experience. I marshaled Formula E in Brooklyn, New York. I'm based in New York, so I went to Brooklyn, and you can't imagine how many guys from MotoGP were marshaling in Formula E. Completely different sport in a completely different place. WTF, LOL. I was like, what the fuck? Shit is nuts.
That's cool, man.
It is cool.
Hell yeah. It's great. My last one before Austin was actually in New Jersey, and for the first time, I picked up a bagger's bike. And I've seen
like Hulk.
It was one of the worst.
Incredible Hulk, right?
It was one of the worst things because just me and one other guy. It was one of the worst things to ever pick up.
I bet. Yeah. So speaking of that,
I couldn't pick it up myself.
Yeah, Hawk. So you raced the baggers, right? So
yep. I was just about to bring that up.
Tell us about that experience racing a Harley versus a crotch rocket.
Oh man, they couldn't be more different. You know, it was cool for me because, you know, I'd been out of the sport for 13 years. And last year, how it happened was Corey West and Patricia, his wife, were on their way up to Washington to race. I think it was a hooligan race or something like that. So they stopped off at my house, and Corey unloaded his bike to shake it down and just spin some laps in the dirt. And he'd asked me, he said, "Hey, would you have any chance or interest to race a bagger?" And I was like, "No." No, like I didn't even know what a bagger was really. I had sort of seen just some clips, you know, online, but anyways. So he said, "Well, man, you know, the guy asked me, and you know, I've already got another gig going, and you know, I think he'll have a decent bike, and you know, he'll probably pay you and this and that." And it's like, "Yeah, give me his number." So anyways, long story short, I ended up calling the guy and I ended up riding for him. So I had a fresh perspective completely of riding a motorcycle completely. Right. Because after that many years, I had to honestly sort of learn how to race a motorcycle again, ride a motorcycle again. I mean, it took a lap, but it wasn't like going from a sport bike onto a bagger. It was basically like starting all over again. So I think it was a good thing, because I got to just start fresh on this big old foreign motorcycle, foreign to me. And it was, man, it was cool. It was a trip. That's all I can say is that, you know,
was it scary? Because I could imagine like a giant.
Well, yeah, here's why. Let me give you the backstory on this without bashing anybody. This is pretty interesting. So, and this is my style. My whole career was very on and off by choice, and I had some definite interesting luck. But so I call the guy, the team owner, and we chat. We get a deal arranged. He said, "Okay, I want you to come out and test the motorcycle." So he flew me out to Chicago, and this is last year, to test at Black Hawk Farms, which I'd never been to. And I'm watching the weather forecast, and it shows rain, period. It shows solid rain. And I don't mind riding the rain. I love riding in the rain. So I get there, pick me up from the airport. We drive a couple hours to the track. We get there, and it's, you know, it's pouring rain. Unload the bike, and they rented the racetrack. They rented the whole track. I was the only one there on the track. Mm-hmm. And so put the bike in the garage and get stuff sort of dialed. I sit on it. I get the controls, everything how I want it. And I haven't changed out yet. You know, I'm just sort of waiting because it's pouring rain, and there's a brand new set of slicks mounted on the bike.
Oh my God. At
some point, you know, I asked him finally, I was like, when are you guys going to throw some reins on it? And, you know, the owner looked at me so cross-eyed, like, "What do you mean reins?" I said, rain tires. And he'd never heard of reins. He didn't know rain tires existed.
What?
So that was, so that was like a big eye opener.
Right. Like, holy shit.
God.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Well, where's the razor blade at then? Let me groove these tires.
Something. So, and I'll tell you what, and these are learning experiences, because within that conversation, I said, well, I can't go out on the bike with slicks on in the rain. And we're not talking like a little rain and maybe it was going to dry up, or it was drying up. It was raining.
Flooding.
And around in the truck, I said, let's go drive the truck, and let me see where the track goes. And I drove and at least sort of figure out where it went. And then it was like, okay, you got to go out on track. And I was like, well, I can't go out on the slicks. And Black Hawk Farms, I'd never ridden it. I don't know what the surface is like, but I can tell you there's patches, there's sealer, Armco barriers everywhere without air fence or hay, nothing,
Right.
With grass in between. You hit grass, you're in that Armco. So I was like, man, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, I rented the track for $5,000, and you're going to ride. Even if you just tiptoe around, you need to go ride and figure out this bike. I said, wow.
Whew.
So, that was an interesting start to getting back on a motorcycle, and let alone a bagger. And again, not talking any shit on anyone, but it was not
just the circumstances.
It was tough, and I've never had to deal with that from a team owner or been put in that situation in my life, and no rider ever should, but I still, I respected that in a way, that his point of he spent a lot of money to be there, and we had one day to test this bike, and then we were going to go race. I get it. So I said, okay, I suited up, and I spun 55 laps in the rain on slicks, and
holy shit,
it was so gnarly, but what an experience. I learned so much because, I had to learn a new motorcycle, and, tires in the slick in the rain was just challenging. There was standing water. It was so mentally draining, but man, I just chipped away at it, and I got it actually to the point where it was cool, because I learned a lot of what I can do in the rain on slicks with that bike. But, I was rolling around, I was spinning the tire up comfortably, like riding a little XR100 in the dirt. So it was actually really neat, but to answer your question, super scary for first experience back. And I just kept saying to myself, just take it easy, always go home to my family, period. Cause it was high risk. So aside from that, my next experience on the bagger was in the dry at I call it Sears Point, but in Finian, Sonoma.
Finian, yeah.
And it was rad. The baggers are so cool, you guys. They're
that's what I'm saying.
They're bitching.
They look so okay. So I'm not behind the cockpit, so I don't know. But they look so stable around corners. Like when like leaned over, like the bike just plants. At least that's what it looks like in the highlight videos.
In a way, yeah. Well, I guess you could say, depending on your bike and how it's set up.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they're a long wheelbase, so they are overall, they're stable. They're stable in the regard they're not knifey like a sport bike. They're not
twitchy, right.
Twitchy, but they move a lot. I mean, especially the harder you push them. Mm. They're always, I feel like I compare it to riding a very big XR100. They're always sort of flexing and moving and squatting. And, there's so much weight that they truly are flexing.
Right.
And so much weight on the tire, that carcass is moving and
flexing. Yep.
Yeah. There's a lot of movement out of the bike. And God, they're not meant to do that. So I know I went through stuff on mine that I don't think it was ever stable. On the straightaway, they're doing this almost the whole time because
they're
moving, and the geometry wasn't right. We didn't run a steering damper, so they're but they're really forgiving. That's what I can say, is that whether it was the bike I rode last year before I developed it and it handled like shit, they're still very forgiving. Like a sport bike, when it snaps, it snaps.
It snaps, right?
Yeah.
Are like, it's almost like you gotta you have a second to react. They start to go. It's like, oh, okay, that transferred from here
to there, right?
Where the rear tire is, and I can react,
Yeah,
but they're
yeah.
also not forgiving in the way of you're always, not always, but dragging parts. You're always looking for a clearance. That's the scary part, is once you find that limit, which on the first bike, the Harley, it was the primary. I was dragging the primary always. And that's just scary, because when you've got that angle, that is it.
Yeah.
So like,
you ain't going no further over. Yeah, that's it.
You can't go further over. So, it'll scrape and pivot the bike a bit. And then there's just always those things in your mind of like, or what is the bike actually flexing? Is that something falling apart or breaking or cracking, or is the motor going? Like that's, I'd say for me, the scariest part of riding these baggers. The most intimidating part is failures, which they've really improved. They've done a great job, but I've never been worried about racing a sport bike on track and a guy in front of me. I don't even think about it. You're in the moment, you're racing. I'm always thinking about a little puff of smoke. I am like, oh shit, I get offline a little bit.
Right.
These things are letting go. Again, everyone's doing a great job of there's not as many blowups now or oil leaking, but it's scary as a rider for me. Is like, I ride much more tentative and I guess smarter and just thinking those things through more,
Yeah, facts. I mean, those bikes weren't intentionally designed.
Rider.
Yeah. And they weren't intentionally designed to be a race bike to begin with, right? So that's where you get all that movement, because the chassis is so flexible, it's soft, in order to handle everyday accommodations, your highways and your back roads and all that snazzy jazz stuff, right? And you go on Bolton performance parts and slicks. Now they run slicks on them, right? It changes the game, so as far as the transition, obviously it's a heavier bike, so it's more physically demanding to transition from side to side. But as you enter the corner and you let off the brakes, the transfer from the front to the rear is not as drastic, or they got that pretty much dialed in now?
I think that the factories do. Yeah. I mean, their bikes are radically different than mine. The bike I'm on now, the Indian Challenger, the Lloyd's Garage bike. I mean, it's a bitchin' bike. It's awesome. I love the bike. Is it what the factories are on? Not even close. So, I compare what I ride, and again, it's a very fun motorcycle to ride. So I can just say that their bikes are that much more. Yes, like they're doing what they want them to do. They are a straight up. I mean, they're a sport bike in ways. They've got very much super bike forks on them and data and all sorts of things. The triple clamps, the angles, but they're still freaking 650 pounds, long wheelbase. Guys are riding the shit out of them. Like
they are.
Absolutely.
Kyle Wyman almost dragged elbow on one of them. Like,
oh yeah, that's going to happen soon. It will. Time but you can only go so high up with clearances between, where it's going to be a hindrance,
right.
Because now you raise the center of gravity, right? So the more you raise stuff up, it changes the whole. Yeah, absolutely.
They're awesome guys. They really work. They work pretty dang good. You have to learn how to ride them, though. You got to ride them a bit different. You got to have some balls, and you've got to be really aggressive. Like,
I kind of want to ride one
around, It does. It does. It takes both balls. Yeah. So let me ask you this: as far as like racing a bagger versus a crotch rocket, right? What's the cost difference if somebody wanted to get in a bagger class versus, your super sport or super twin class?
Oh man,
baggers are hella expensive.
Absolutely. If you want to be like at the motoamerica level, again, like comparing what I've been on, I know that the factory Harley budget is out the roof, like unbelievable. Yep. Indians is not what Harley's is, and it's still absolutely huge. But that's part of developing their whole goal of this is they want, this R&D goes to their street platform, and it goes towards guys being able to get these parts and do it to their bike. So it's awesome. It's incredible. It just makes it hard for a privateer team like ourselves to be competitive. That's just frustrating. It is what it is, but my guys aren't going to put, or they don't have that budget that the factories have. And I don't doubt that I can run up front with those guys if I was on the same equipment, along with, a lot of other riders that are on the privateer bikes. They're extreme. You look at that field; it's very talented riders.
Yes, it is.
That part of it, man, it's tough. Budget's tough. A bagger budget is to do it competitive. It's astronomical. It blows my mind. And I would say comparable. If you wanted to go try to be competitive in superbike as a privateer, you're probably similar. Maybe bagger's probably more because you have to build the motorcycle.
Right.
You can go buy a stock 1000 off the showroom floor. They're turnkey these days. It's like you're not spending thousands just trying to chop, cut, fab. This bike.
Yeah, you're not tailoring the bike now.
Like, okay, let's go buy an R1 and do what Stamboli does.
Right.
As close as you can. He's right about it. You can get some grave stuff. It's not out there for these. Really, it's getting there, but it's not really out there. Guys are still doing it themselves, which is incredible. Every bagger on that grid from first to last, dude, these guys are badasses. They are. Build, and a lot of them are like, that's what's so cool about this class is they're building the bikes at home. They're driving to the track themselves. They're racing them. I mean, what studs. Like I couldn't do it,
Yeah.
Just mechanically, if I knew how to do that, I think it's so cool. But just the effort to race and wrench on your bike in the same weekend is so draining. Like, I'm going to sort of have to do it this weekend myself in Washington. And I'm like, oh boy,
I love Washington. The ridge.
Oh, you'll be just fine, Hawk. Yeah, you'll be just fine.
But these to wrench and race is impressive, and that these guys are like, they're the ultimate of it. So.
Well, yeah, because when you're working on your bike, it takes away from your focus on what you need to be mentally prepared for being on the track, right? So you got to It's like Jekyll and Hyde. You got to turn Hyde off and focus on Jekyll, and then turn Jekyll off and focus on Hyde, and then merge them together when you get out there on the track. And just it adds a different,
draining too. These guys are oftentimes they don't even have time to get out of their leathers. They're dropping the top and they're under the thing working on it, and they zip it back up and go. It really is these
wild.
It'd be neat. It should be showcased more, in my opinion. I can say that.
Right. I give it to Motoamerica because I feel like as an organization, year by year they're getting better. Like in terms of promotion. When I first started watching Motoamerica in 2020, I didn't really give two shits about the other classes except for stock 1000 and superbike, right? I mean, obviously, someone who's new to the sport, you want to watch like the best of the best do it, right?
Yeah.
But as Motoamerica continues to grow and continues to progress in terms of what they or how they display their other classes, I'm telling you right now, I didn't care about the baggers class, but now I'm like glued because I love watching these guys just take these giant honking stonking bikes and just elbow like borderline elbow dragging them around tight corners. Yeah. And I think that's freaking phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie to you. I used to talk mad shit about it. I'm like, this is probably the most American thing. But then as I kept watching it, and as I kept talking about it, I was like, you know what? I kind of like this. I kind of like this a lot.
It's great for our sport.
Man, I tell you what, it's all American. I mean,
yeah.
Indian versus Harley. How cool. It's so old school.
Yeah.
And that's what we need.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
And it's gnarly. It is you can't help but there's so many still haters out there. There's always gonna be haters, but I don't care.
It's gonna take a minute.
Bagger, run around the track at that pace. It's exciting just because of how big they are. You can see the movement of these bikes. You can see the thing moving and twisting and shaking, the bags bounce around, everything about it. It's exciting. And Motoamerica, good for them for branching out, thinking outside the box. Demographically speaking, man, it was needed. In my opinion, I've been away from the sport for so long. I left it in 2010 when it was AMA, and there was good stuff about AMA and there was not good stuff.
Yeah.
So for me to come back to Moto America, I haven't watched it. I haven't followed the sport at all for years. So just coming right into it and racing it, good for them, because to me, coming back in that paddock, it's small. It is tiny. It's like a club race in ways. And that a lot of that is just due to the economy and whatnot, right?
Right.
So that brought a whole new crowd. And when you go to the races now, it's a lot of leather vest wearing guys, man, and gals.
Yeah.
And that is what's needed, because it's a whole new group. And if you look around, what's on the street? It's mostly
Harleys. It's Indians
back,
and Harleys. Yeah.
It's your warriors that are, wanting to be bad boys for the weekend. That's rad. And they're the best fans. They're the best fans. They're wild. And, a sport bike, if you go buy one, a Jap bike, you can buy them for pretty cheap. Well, not a Harley, So typically those guys also, they have money to spend. They're going to go back in the industry and buy that Vance and Hines stuff, buy that Indian stuff, that aftermarket, versus sport bike guys. Typically, demographically, they don't have as much money,
Yeah, that's true.
No, we don't.
It's all good, man. I hope it keeps going. I really hope it does, and I think it will. My one concern being in it as a rider, and in talks with my team owners, the only way that it'll die quick, I think, because we're living it. My team pulled out of Moto America on the bagger. We were doing the whole season, and that was the plan. That was the agreement. And he said, we're done. We're pulling out, because they're not seeing their return as business owners. They are Lloyd's Garage, the top performance Indian guys in the nation, and they own Indian dealerships, and they're businessmen. They got to see a return. So, I, as a rider, I'm super bummed, but I get it. And the reason is, this is where Moto America is blowing it. And, I got nothing to lose. I can, as a rider, say Moto America does a shit job with promoting Moto America racers, be it social media, their website, and TV time. They show the top couple of guys on TV.
And that's it.
Same people through social media over and over and over. And that's not going to keep guys on the grid. My team's pulled out. I'm quite sure that there's other teams that are going to be pulling out, because even if for the amount of money that Lloyd's Garage is spending with a beautiful motorcycle, and, we're up in the mix, top privateers, there's a great battle going on in 6th, 7th, 8th place.
Yes.
Showcase it. Even if you got to show every rider for, even if it's 5 to 10 seconds in a whole race, that's going to keep our privateer teams on the grid. They're going to say, hey, they just said Lloyd's Garage, on the Indian Challenger, they mentioned Hawk Mazzotta. That's good for my business.
Right.
Keep them on the grid. They can justify, and they're going to keep bikes on the grid. Otherwise, it's going to be in my opinion, it's going to be the factory show, Harley versus Indian, with maybe 6 to 8 bikes. No one's going to watch it.
No.
And you're even seeing that. You're even seeing that in the superbike class as well. I mean, with shows like Pressure to Rise and stuff like that, which I love.
Yep.
But they're only showing the same 4, 5 guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
If 5 guys, every week.
They've got to, right? Like, those guys are the top-notch dudes. They should get the main showcase, no doubt.
100%.
You just scroll through. You scroll through and show little bits. Introduce the other guys. Pressure Rise, introduce them. Here's who this is. Because there's a lot of fans that aren't just rooting for the number one factory guys. There's a lot of fans out there that are going for the underdogs. They're going for Joe Schmo in the back, maybe because he's got a really neat story. Maybe because he's an Army vet, or a military, or
Rodney Best.
Maybe they're rooting for me because I've got thousands of fans because I've worked with their kids. I mean, it could be anything that showcase them. That's what Supercross has got dialed.
Yes, they do.
They showcase them. They spread the word, throughout the field, man.
It's true.
my input. I appreciate a lot of what Moto America is doing. I mean, I'm out there racing with them, and the different classes. The hooligan, good job.
Oh yeah, hooligan's awesome.
In ways, I think is really cool. So I think they've got the best guys in the business, behind it, running it. So, you can't beat that as far as for rider safety and stuff. So there's just certain things that's the main one. You mentioned Moto America. Man, I hope they step it up in that regard, because they already lost my team. There's more on their way, and maybe it won't matter. Maybe for them it doesn't matter. It's like, well, we've got our factories and that's the money, and it's business. It's a business, period.
It should matter though, because it should. That's in order for our sport to grow, and I've said this numerous times, me and Jules had this conversation with other guests too. It's like that's where we lack as a sport, not just Moto America. I'm talking about MotoGP, British Superbike, World Superbike. It's all the same. It's all the same 4 or 5 guys, and every once in a while you might see a glimpse of the mid-pack battle, and then it goes back to first place, and then 5 seconds, and then the second place, and 3 seconds, third place or whatever. And it's like, this is boring, right? It's you're not helping grow the sport or bring new people in. You're just beating the same dead horse all the time.
Like if I was working for Moto America and I had like full like creative control, I would probably do they kind of do this, but it's not as efficient. It's like riders of the week, right? And then it'll just be some rando racer, and just type up a story about him, give him like a short 5-minute day in life documentary.
Absolutely.
Because you never know. You never know what that 5 minutes of screen time.
Moto America, man.
I would love to, man. Yo, take Pin the Gas X Moto America. That'd be great.
Yeah,
because that's what I'm doing right now, man. I have a camera, right? And when I get to Moto America,
1 second.
Laguna, when I get to Laguna, I'm going to be doing like short little promotional clips of the average racer. Cool. I'm not saying like they're average, but like compared to this,
just like a privateer spotlight, and someone like yourself. You don't have to be a Moto America employee or anything, but you guys have got some traction and run around and interview every privateer out there that you can in any class, all classes, and over a course of a year, depending on how many races you can get to, cover every racer. And I'll do this. I've thought about talking to my wife and probably doing the same thing of especially racer, do some fun stuff, but get out there and interview other people, because, and I don't know every bagger racer real well. I know all of them. I've spoke to each one of them, and it's pretty cool, man. You got some interesting stories, that
100%
people would like to hear and see, especially with the privateers. You get the stories of, yeah, man, I just got in, I drove all day, all night for 2 days, and my truck broke down, and then I unloaded the bike, and this or that broke or blew up, and I was wrenching on it all night, made first, like, there's so much going on for these guys or gals that it's the story, and it's that, holy cow, and you made the grid, and you did it.
Like you went through hell, and you still
and then these guys go on Monday, they go back to work.
Yeah, because I mean, like one of the few examples of that, and Chris, we're on Spotify, right? And aside from like your Moto PG guys like Boris and all of them, a lot of the podcast listens are with Cody Cochran. He's a stock 1000 racer. He's not one of the top competing guys, but a lot of people were listening to his shit, Chris. Like, that's wild. That's wild that we can get him a lot of ear plays.
Yeah, but that's why I love doing what we're doing with the podcast. Just like what Hawk said, that we give a platform and a chance for all the people that don't have a voice on the TV on that weekend or whatever. They can come on the podcast, and we can go to Spotify and all this other good stuff and keep promoting them, Facebook Live videos, helping our sport grow. That's our goal, right? It's a big deal. It's something that we severely lack in this industry. It really is.
Moto America should reach out to Netflix, man. Like, like life of a struggling hobby or whatever, like something like that.
You know, yeah. There's just so much potential for Moto America. You know, being the top racing in America that. I don't see why in ways it shouldn't be like I compare it to Supercross because they do a great job. Granted, that True. Is when it's
we're losing them.
You know, so it is a lot more inaccessible road racing, but it's so freaking badass. And for those who have been to a road race, you know, I think most people are pretty blown away that I think if they were able to get it a bit more mainstream, which easier said than done,
right.
it would really grow the sport. So, and you know, we all take part in that. I could do so much more, you know, I mean, I could
have a couple ideas.
Take time, and because it takes a lot of time and money, but it does to try to do as riders. There's certain riders that do a great job of taking upon themselves to promote the sport. You know, like Josh Herron's a great example.
I was going to say that Josh Herron.
Yeah. The only fan
with the bird, right?
Dude, he doesn't give a shit, and I love that about him.
That's great.
And you know what? Especially these days with social media, it's allowed such a ridiculous platform of couch racers. Everyone knows best. Everyone is so fast. They all don't know shit. And they all probably ride a motorcycle because I have them attend my camps. And I'm like, oh my God, you are so slow and such a horrible rider. I read your post. It is a joke. So good for Josh Herron. I love the guy. He says the truth, and he's there to race a motorcycle. And that's what we're all there to do. I mean, when it comes down to it, you're there to race and win at that level. That is his job if you want to keep your seat. And so he's got pull, and, you know, he can really influence, and he does, be it good or bad and all that. It's all good. You know, not everyone has to be a fan of him or others. You know, but he puts the effort out there, and that I appreciate, because if more of us, I don't do it, you know, we're doing what he's doing. He gets outside industry sponsors. He gets fans involved. He does things, I mean, all the time. That's what's needed. You know, it really is.
Right. Yeah. I would love to admit that he does a great job of just branching out to people even outside the sport. Just the shit that he says and like shit that he does. I know I had my piece about him, but I'm slowly becoming a fan of that guy. Slowly becoming a fan, because I have ideas. I have some like crazy ideas on like what Moto America can do to like help promote. I'm like, why don't we reach out to, like, you know, when we go to Texas, when you guys go to Texas or whatever, send some tickets to Joe Rogan, man. Have Joe Rogan like come through and say some shit about us. Have Keanu Reeves, he's a big motorcycle enthusiast. Reach out to him. Have him come through. And
those guys, it's what you're saying. That's what's needed. And I'm sure Moto America, I don't doubt that they have. I mean, those guys are. I remember seeing Keanu Reeves at MotoGP Laguna years ago, and I mean, he's got his own bike brand. That guy's an enthusiast.
Yep. Yes, he is.
He loves it shit.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that is what's needed. And you never know. I can say again, it takes a lot of work and effort and time, because when I'm searching for sponsors for my business or for the races I promote, God, it takes a lot of time. Knocking on 100 doors, you maybe get one yes, you know?
Yep.
So, which obviously Moto America is a business. They have people for that do that. And they're on it. You know, they've got bitchin' videos they put out. You know, they do a great job in ways. And so, yeah, man.
Yeah. Reach out to TikTokers who are big in the sports community, who don't know jack shit about road racing. Send them some tickets. Come over. These guys get millions and millions of views per video. I swear to God, if one of those TikTokers were like, "Hey, I'm at this like motorcycle race. Look at what these guys are doing," be millions and millions of views that will come up with that, bro. And these guys are probably not even expensive to you know. It's little shit like that.
I didn't understand that whole freaking TikTok world until actually my wife was explaining it to me, because I was like, man, how does all this work? Because she's taught me how to do social media, you know, and I still don't understand. She does a lot of it for me.
Right.
or a cousin. It's like, well, Hawk, you have to post, people do it at certain times of the day, and there's algorithms and all this stuff. And well, these people have, even in the racing world, these people have these sponsors or these rides just because of their followers. They're not a very good racer. I'm like,
Right.
no shit. Like, yeah, that's, that company or team is getting more out of just that social media world or TikTok or Snapchat, whatever it all is, than the results on track or like, wow, it makes sense. I mean,
it does.
But at the same time, it comes back to a money thing, right? Especially if you're a privateer. I mean, if you're a privateer, you get that one viral video or whatever, and the people are going to come and watch you.
Maybe I just got to go do something super weird, right?
Just do a dance, bro. Just do a TikTok dance, and then
these days, do something weird or be, Bud Light commercial style, like do something. And dog, man, I could be in a factory seat.
I know, that's right. Yeah, you never know, man. It's
just you got to change with the times, and that's sort of what it is these days. It's an incredible platform that we have for free. Like you said, to advertise and to promote, and you have to learn how to use it. And part of it too, I can say for me personally, is I'm just sort of old school, and I'm stuck in my ways of like, I don't want to do that, and I'm not going to. Like, I will put up, or my wife will, or someone will put up a video of me at the track racing, or a certain something it's natural. But the stage stuff, I'm like, guys, I can't do it. Sorry.
I can't be an actor.
But if you got to just change the times. I think you sort of got to do it in ways, You
got to channel your inner Brad Pitt, bro.
Come on,
I got to capture that old Brad Pitt, huh?
Got to channel that inner actor, man. You want the monies.
Classes in Santa Barbara. That was very good.
But
that was good.
How cool would it be though? Like let's say, I mean, I could be that guy if I had the time to, but how cool could it be to just have somebody with a camera and follow someone like, I don't know, I'm just gonna say a random name out, like Max Flinders, right? Max had a great story, or Cody Cochran had a great story where, like, they well, I don't know if Max does this, but like they go to the tire deposit and they look for tires that don't have a lot of use, and they take those tires. Like, how cool would it be to have somebody with a camera just following him, like, life of a racer who's just trying to fuel his passion, having him wake up every day. He's not in the fanciest hotel. If he's even in a place to sleep,
right?
Yeah, no, that's a track.
Sleep in the back of the truck, like, show like the realness of the passion.
We got somebody like that right now, Levi Batty. Our boy Levi's doing that right now in Moto America, sleeping in the van, sleing at the track, not getting in the hotels. That's exactly what he's doing.
How cool would it be to showcase that?
90% of the paddock is doing. I mean, there's a lot, like, it's a lot. No, and that's, again, but hey, just got to do it. Do it yourself. Do it, even if it's low budget, but try to just have someone film, have a parent, these kids that are putting everything they have towards their kids, their homes, their everything,
Yeah. Yes. I have a pretty good camera though. I could do it. I could do it. I just need a better rig. But I could definitely do it.
There's a lot of people out there that would probably, be stoked to take you up, because I know to me, that's one of the best selling points for a business. I know, like, mine is video. If I'm promoting a race, I want to see some video of that track before I drive, maybe, or fly real far to go race that track.
Right.
That's true.
That track, or from my camp. Well, what is it? Video. Pictures are fine, but videographers, man, it's hard to find them, and they're super expensive potentially. So, there's something to business wise to do there. And there's a couple guys that roll around at the paddock that do that.
Yeah, but they're only filming like the best guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool gig too. Some of them.
You need to do this, Jules.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I would love to just Netflix style documentary. Like, yeah, I woke up and I ate some Rice Krispies, and it's the only thing I'm gonna have because I got to spend money on race tires. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that'd be some cool. Yeah, exactly. That'd be some cool shit, because I tell my friends, none of my friends are into this shit. But they see me post a lot of it, and I'm like, yo, it's not like ball sports where you can truly come from rags to riches just solely based on skill.
No, it's not.
No,
Not at
no,
all.
it's not.
You
If you don't have
need some sort of financial. What's up?
If you don't have the equipment underneath you, it's not going to happen.
No.
In
Yeah.
motorcycle racing, it's like you said, you
Exactly.
can't all sport, get some sneakers and a basketball, and there you go. This is so
Facts.
this is so much work and effort and financially costs so much that, you know, talent wise, you can be as talented. There's so many talented riders in that Moto America paddock, but you got to have the equipment.
Avery Dreyer.
Yes.
Lap Slayer is a
The
great
Lap
example of
Slayer.
the
Yes, it is.
family supporting 3 kids racing and
Yep.
performing at the top level.
Yep. And big shout out to him and his dad. Absolutely.
For real.
And his sister.
And a sister, which we're going to be talking to her pretty soon.
Are pretty. I admire him a lot. I really do. I wish I had. Well, I say I wish I had. You know, the involvement and support from parents, because you got to start pretty young these days.
Yeah.
You know, is really everything. Because if your parents don't support you, you're not going to be able to do it.
No.
You know, there's so many kids that don't have the opportunity, and that's what I'm just so thankful and blessed that I had the opportunity that majority in this nation do not have.
True.
And I started late, you know, at 16 years old. But here's the thing too, you don't have to start young. I've had this talk so much because I work with so many kids at my camp, and a lot of these parents, the dads are like, man, what do you think of my kid? And I'm very honest. Like, there's natural talent and there's
sucks
work. There's a lot of work, you know, and I'm
Right.
very honest. Like, hey, your kid's going to really have to work at this. Like, period. There's athletes and there's not athletes, right?
Right.
And I can sort of see it right away. So the kids who are really talented, their parents are like, what do you think, man? And it's expensive and all this. I said, hey, let them be kids. Like, it's really neat that kids are able to start these days, that we have the platforms. I mean, god dang, Stay Sick bike or Strider bike, Stay Sick bike. There is every step from starting at 2 years old. I have kids that race at my races that are 2 years old on electric Stay Sicks. They have a freaking binky in their mouth. It's incredible. At the same time, though, let them be kids. You know, I see a lot of parents pushing so hard, and the
to
kids
be great,
but they're like, when they're not on track, they're over just playing with their buddies, like kidding out, and let them kid out, let them be kids, let them have that balance. And I'm really stoked that I got into it late again, but my parents were like, hey, if you keep your grades up, have a job, you know, we'll support you in it. And it was on me. Like, I wanted to do it. And so for these parents that support these kids, man, it's a huge, huge, huge effort, both time-wise and financially. And, you know, it's freaking cool. And I again, though, I think it's really important mentally for these kids to progress is to be kids. Let them just still have that balance. They burn out. You see a lot of them at a young age. They burn out. And they're dum-dums. They have nothing going on there. Not all of them, I'm saying, but some of them I grew up with racing. They get hurt or something happens, and they have nothing to fall back on, you know, and they've got no life. So anyways, when you mentioned that, these parents are badass doing what they do. I've got kids. If my son really wanted to go racing, you know, you do what you need to support your kids.
Absolutely.
You know?
We're halfway through the mini cup season. As much as I love the opportunity, I wish the kids got more spotlight. Future of the sport. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
100%.
Those races are so cool to watch. Those little guys.
Dude, they're awesome. Mini cup is awesome.
Mini cup is
my favorite.
Their helmets are like as big as their
they
body.
are. Right. Their helmets this big. Their shoulders are the same width as the helmets.
So
it's like,
cool, man.
it is. It is.
I told everyone like my favorite class right now is the junior cup. Like, I love watching the junior cup, man.
Oh, it's such a good race.
Yeah, it's great racing. Holy shit.
And that last one at Moto America was what was it? I think 12 guys or so in that lead pack.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great racing.
You never know who's gonna win one of those, man. Like everyone is just so like the lines are so stacked with talented kids, and they're our future. They're the ones that like I feel should be promoted the most. And you know, because like if the smaller people get more of a spotlight, everything is eventually going to trickle on. they're like, yo, if these guys are this good and they're only running 13th, 12th, 11th place, then imagine how good the other guys are. So it can build from there. You don't necessarily have to, because if you're looking at the best guys all the time, then why should you care about the other guys and you have no knowledge of who these guys are? You know what I'm saying? So it's better if we start from the bottom and then work our way to the top, you know?
Well, yeah, these kids are they're extremely talented. They are exciting to watch. I mean, it's got to be exciting racing. I mean, I'm not going to watch if it's not good racing.
Yeah.
And they are talented. They've got good racecraft. But I can say too, they do a darn good job. I mean, back when I was racing, starting racing 125s, you know, we raced, the biggest series back then was called USGPRU, and the Grand Prix Association. And it was like John Hopkins, Ben Spies, the Haydens, and, you know, we were all in it at the same time with each other. So big talent. You didn't get spotlighted at all. You know, I mean, there was maybe an article in Road Racing Magazine, Road Racing World, but you had no spotlight. So these kids do have it pretty dang good these days. They get TV time, they get Live Plus, they get, I mean, it's pretty amazing compared. So it's come a long way. Could be better. I think everything in the US racing wise is still growing. It's still, honestly, it's a young sport compared to Europe. I mean, our sports here are ball sports, right?
Facts.
Europe, that is their sport. That's their passion. Yeah. You know, that's what they do.
Yeah,
it's come a long way. I mean, I gotta say, I give the US in all forms, be it motoamerica or club racing, props and credit.
It's gonna get better.
Getting there, you know, and yeah, I mean, it's still young. It just is, you know.
It will get better. There's clearly a much more interest within the last few years. like, it is getting better and better. Obviously there's ways to tweak it, but we'll get there.
Yeah,
like, we'll definitely get there.
You know, having these stepping stones and the ladder system for young riders now to progress. Like back when I started, I didn't even ride one, but like a YSR. I mean, basically a stock one, and they'd strip them down, and then you'd go on to 125, a 250, a 600. Well, that was tough, and it was expensive. Like, now there is stepping stones to where it is pretty. I think we're gonna, in the next 10 years, we're gonna have some extreme talent coming out of the United States.
Yes, I agree.
We didn't have that ago. You know, hopefully you get back to, you know, when we had a couple guys at the MotoGP level, you know, get back to that point. I think we will. There's no reason not to. We have some of the best in the world that have come through. I mean, from back in the day, I mean, the Roberts and the Spencers and you name it. They're the shit.
They're the shit.
Old school flat tracker redneck boys. You know, they're just badasses, and why not? I mean,
no, you're right. One thing I see us lacking though in our sport compared to the Europeans, though, Hawk, is, you know, like we touched on a little bit, is their kids grow up on little mini motos, and that's what they do, right? So that's their whole sport. Where over here we're football and NASCAR, right, or basketball or whatever. So we don't have that fundamental foundation as far as road racing go as they do, as a whole, right? Yeah. Where if we had that, I could see more of us getting over there, because it's big time money and sponsorship that allowed Hayden to go over there and all these other U.S. guys going over there, right? And to touch on that too, is like the flat track style don't necessarily work as it did back in the day, works better back in the day as it does now because of all the electronic bullshit they got on the bikes, right? So it's not. It's different. So the way you ride these electronic astronaut space shuttles, basically, right, compared to the old YSRs and the 125s, and that's why I think two-stroke riding is so essential growing up as a young kid, versus a four-stroke.
It teaches you a lot of stuff you can't. Well, corner speed, number one. You know, it was neat. I rode at Thunder Hill this last weekend. I rode on a Friday track day that just some buddies of mine brought a 600 out for me to ride. And one of them was on a little Milwaukee, what are they, 450, whatever it was. Looks like just like a 125.
Yeah.
So I got to shred around with him, and man, it brought back memories and that whole, how important corner speed is. Cause I'm on a 600 and he's just railing this thing mid-corner speed entry. I'm like, hell yeah, that is where it's at. That's where I got my craft, and so did all the boys in my generation, you know. And then and it was interesting. Then the next day, I rode Dustin's, track days bikes, the R1. You couldn't be opposite. And oh my god, like what an incredible motorcycle, bone stock. It had the one I rode had 7 miles on it. It's like brand new.
God damn.
Rubber on it. I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna ride this.
I'm gonna tear this.
You put a lot of miles on that thing, but what a machine! Out of the box, just so knifey, so smooth. I mean, it just worked. But then the other part of it was, I came in after a session or two, and I was like, he's like, Dustin, how's the bike? I said, turn all of the electronic bullshit off. He said, you can't. I said, well, dumb it down. Like, turn all that traction control and all the everything off. I got damn ABS is like, I'm trying to get hard on the front brake and back the thing in the rear brake. It won't allow me to. It's going under the brakes.
Oh Lord.
And I'm snapping this thing. I mean, snapping it. It won't spin up, which is incredible. But I want to turn all that off. And I guess you can't. And Dustin's like, you don't want to ride it like that. I said, no, I do.
Yeah.
Look at my I had my last super bike from 2010 down on display because I'm trying to sell the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2008 Gixxer 1000. My traction control is an on-off switch and a knob from -9 to +9. That was my traction control. So throughout the race, I would reach over and just dial it up. So old school, but it was awesome, So
that's awesome. Yeah, and that's the Michael Jordan GSXR bike, right?
Yeah.
How much you want for it?
Yeah.
Hey, $3,000.
$3,000?
$3,000?
I want it gone. It's taking up space in my garage. It sits, and I
oh my god, let me save up some money, man. I'm being so serious. You think I'm joking?
It's got some history. It really does. I mean, it was an incredible motorcycle. I got it from I think
I want to ride that shit
a year, or anyways. Yeah, it was one of theirs. I don't know who wrote it. Yates, Jeff May, Jake Holden. It was those boys that
Pridmore.
Yep. I mean, it's a machine. Yep. It's got the Bravo condoms wrap on it.
Oh my god.
That's worth it right there. That's worth it right there. Absolutely.
I need it. I need a new bike.
That's awesome.
Play piece. Anyways, man.
That is great.
Technology these days is really, it's very interesting, is that, I will go, now that I'm racing again, I'll go back to my old notes that I've saved in my binder from my notes in every session, my lap times that I've printed out we're talking from way back, but my last year in like 2010, before I go to a racetrack, I'll look at my times and stuff just to see. I'm like, okay, what was I doing on a super bike? Then I know on a bagger, just to compare. It's interesting. I'll look at my notes. And so, man, of that many years ago, my super bike times basically at some tracks were basically the exact same as the guys running now. Some lap records have been broke and whatnot, but like Laguna Seca in 2010, I did 25s. And that's not changed much from the guys. Like I rode for Dave Anthony, Aussie Dave Racing at Laguna. Those times are sort of the same. Not to say that guys aren't going faster, which I think they are at most tracks, but for the technology that's changed, the tires advancing, everything, I would just think they're not going that much quicker. And part of that is when you talk to the guys, Hayes, I'm great friends with Hayes. He's just, that guy's incredible. You talk about a guy that can
rip
transfer, that can break something down and give information, and has gone from such a long career. He's ridden the dinosaur bikes compared to what's these days. Even Gagne, talking to him at the airport and stuff, electronics. It's like their whole thing now is figuring out how to race these bikes with the electronics they have. That's the hardest part about it. Is dialing the electronics in.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine. I mean, it is full on. They're learning to be little engineers or read the data with these guys. I mean, it's like you know,
It's a lot.
It's a lot of effort they put in.
Yeah, I mean, they got to be smart off the track now. Looking at all this computer stuff, you know.
Right. It's not like it was when you race come in and be like, it's pushing a little bit here, and they say, okay, let me do a couple clicks of rebound here and there, and there you go. Right now, it's let me plug the laptop in, let this other guy do this on the computer, and it's even in MotoGP, you hear them like Jack Miller and Bender say, dude, turn down electronics as much as they can. Stoner was famous for that too, right? Because they wanted to feel the raw motorcycle underneath them to truly understand the bike. I need to understand that. Dumb down all that electronic bullshit and let me just ride it.
For real.
Then we can go from there, right?
Yeah.
My Jitzer has no electronics, so I'm happy.
Yeah, man. I've never ridden the R1 yesterday. Bone stock one was probably the closest thing I've ridden to a modern day. Well, it was sport bike, and I mean, again, it's incredible what they do, but these riders have to be that much more. I feel for these riders in a way at that top notch, you know, be it motoamerica or whatever it is, that they're having to mentally do and dissect so much more than when you didn't have all that. Back then, it was just your suspension and your contact patch to the ground, and you felt what you felt, and you would say, "Here's what it's doing," with some hand gestures, and those mechanics.
Right.
Okay, what's this versus this? Or, you know, very different.
Little sound effects.
Yeah, I got to get the sound effects in there.
It's going woo, 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 woo.
Yep.
Oh, dude, that's great. Yeah. Oh man. But boys, we just hit the minute 40 an hour 40 mark. Hawk, I don't want to take too much of your time, man. Thank you so much for coming through, brother, and just having this conversation with us. Well, before we go, Chris, is there anything would you like to say, man? Is there anything like you got for your chesticles?
Hawk, I appreciate it. It's an honor. Like I kept telling you before, to have you on the podcast. One thing before we go, why don't you tell everybody how they can get in touch with you to sign up for your school and all that good stuff?
Me, I want to do it.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah, Chris. HawkMazzottaMotoCamp.com is the website, and or social media. You know, Hawk Mazzotta Moto Camp on Instagram and Facebook. And man, any interest there, I urge people to reach out to me. I mean, I truly do love teaching, and reach out, you know, even if it's just a simple, I'm old school, a phone call is best.
That's
or an
right.
email. But
that's right.
To get into sport, road racing or dirt track or motocross, what do you think the best bike is? My kid is this old, or you don't have to come take my camp to get information. I mean, that's what this sport is about. That's what it should be, is just passing information on and knowledge to, you know, get more enthusiasts and keep people safe, you know? So yeah, please, man, I have people out from, you know, all over the place. We've got I don't have accommodations at my property. I would love to, but maybe someday, but we've got an awesome hotel that we work with direct down the road. It's actually a beautiful place. So you can travel from anywhere. I've got arrive and ride situations. I got bikes, I got gear. You just show up and ride. And
looks like I got to plan a trip.
Yeah, really, man, no problem. It was an honor.
And
man.
Hey, this weekend, you know, keep an eye out, everyone. You know, tune in to Moto America, motoamericaliveplus.com. I mean, that is, I think, such an awesome thing that they have. It's so cheap to subscribe, pay for it. You get to watch all the racing, practice, qualify. That is so cool that Moto America does that. Tune in. We'll be at Washington, the Ridge this weekend. I've never been.
Ridge.
I'm excited. It's like a beautiful track, technical, fast, and I'll be racing the Super Hooligan class.
The Hooligans class?
Yes, the Hooligans awesome class.
Sweet,
man. It's the naked bikes. It's some great racing. I'll be racing the air-cooled class, which here's something that I should explain. A lot of people don't know because it really hasn't been put out there well enough. Within the Hooligan class, there's a race within a race.
Yep.
So you have the Super Hooligan class, and within that you have the air-cooled class.
Yep. Oh, so shit.
It's two separate championships. So I'll be racing the Roland Sands Indian Chief for Roland Sands Designs, Lloyd's Garage, leading that championship right now. So if you see Hawk Mazzotta down in 10th, 15th place. I'm racing the air-cooled bike. It's way slower, boys.
I'm number one. I'm
Man,
number one.
Still, we'll be looking out.
In it. So, anyways, tune in. We're going to be trying to get 2 more wins under our belt this weekend, and it'll be fun, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So excited to watch it, man. I'm so excited. I love the Ridge. Definitely one of my favorite tracks to watch, and hopefully I get to go next year.
Yeah. Are you going to be in Jersey?
Are you going to Laguna?
Yeah, I'm going to Laguna. Yeah.
Heck yeah, both of you.
No, I'm going to a British Superbike race in August at Caldwell Park.
Oh, no way.
yeah. But I will be in Moto America in New Jersey for the last MA round. Are you going to be there, Hawk?
No. The boys pulled the plug on the rest of baggers, and we don't go there on the Super Hooligans, so I will not be at that. But hopefully we'll get to link up. Hey,
we will.
I'm racing Chicago Blackhawk for BRL on the bagger in just a few weeks.
Nice.
Okay. I'll try to make that for
one
sure.
of these days, man. Yeah, Jules will get to meet you in person at Laguna at least, huh? Chris, one of these days, huh?
Well, Hawk, absolutely, we will, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
And, guys,
fun time.
If you're on the West Coast ever, give me the heads up and come hang out and play in the dirt with me.
I will.
You got it.
100%. I'll take you up on that.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. We're invited to so much shit. we gotta make an American trip next year, Chris. Just
we do.
Save up a lot of money and just go to different places.
That's right.
Well, you guys always have an invite here. Come and ride with me. It'd be fun.
I appreciate it, and we will.
Appreciate that, man.
Absolutely.
Well, anyway, boys, that is our show. Facebook, YouTube, Podbean, and anything out there where you hear our voice, please go ahead and subscribe. Let us know what you guys think. Any criticism is good criticism. We're here. We're happy to hear it. Trying to figure out ways to innovate and make this platform better and more accessible to everybody. So thank you so much who actually tune in, participate in the comments. The comments that are down below. We appreciate every single one of you guys. Guys, I am Cool Jules. That's Krista Show, Simcoe, and the Cobra Hawk Mazzotta. Thank you so much again, and we'll see you guys at the next episode. Watch Moto America this weekend.
Facts.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Hang on, give me 1 second.
I'll give you 2 seconds.